Hi, I'm Jay and welcome back to this channel. I wanted to show you this book I recently got. It's the third book in Eriy's Tracing Around the World series, and this time it's about world history. If you hear my voice and it sounds different and you wonder why is poor Jay still sick, no, I'm sick again, but at least I got up out of the bed just to finally show you this because it has been laying around here. If you just want to see a flip through of this video, I put a link down in the description box to Coloring F, Francis's channel, because she has a whole flip through of this book. What I'm doing again is, as with her second book, I've translated at least the titles, I think, of most of the pictures, so that where we talk about what is depicted, so that will take a bit longer than a usual just a flip through. As I said, this is the third book in the series. You may know Eriy from her Romantic Country series, and she has another trilogy out, the Tracing trilogy, with the countries and then with the festivals. The festivals, as I said, I've flipped through and explained all the festivals depicted on my channel. And the specialty with these books is that they are printed very faint. I did one picture in here somewhere. This is from the festivals, and you can already see that because there are no black lines, the effect is very, very lovely. But it also means that it's pretty hard to show a flip through. So as soon as I begin flipping through the book, I'm changing the video of the image so that it looks a bit weird, but you can at least see the pictures. The book itself is very similar to the two others in the series, of a similar thickness, and it also has a flap, but this time it's just a normal flap, not a map like last time. And there's also nothing on the inside here. So we got a little introduction by Eriy here, and then we get into all the pictures. You see a little preview for each picture and a little blurb. And the title, and from what time this is. If you're wondering about the numbers that seem a bit odd, the numbering follows this wine. So that's why we got 14, 15, then 16 here, 17 here, and 18 here. And this is printed in a normal way, in slightly blue-grayish ink. And again, don't be confused, it goes this way. I don't know why, but it's kind of sweet after you figured it out. So as you can see, there's lots of picture in here, and here it starts with the book. You can see the difference between the normal print and the very, very faint print. It's very, very faint greenish gray, I'd say. If you know any of the other two books, you know how this looks. It's exactly the same. I'm going to change the picture quality now, so you can actually see the illustration. Everything you see from here on now is digitally enhanced, so the pictures won't look like this when you get the book. The picture will look like this. Okay, so let's start. This is just the introductory page. I think it's not even in the has a little preview. I mean, it says what it is. Let's travel around the world history, which is basically the title of this book. I think it's supposed to be the book. It's pretty sweet. So let's get into the book. So the first picture on the left here is obviously, it says so, it's fossils, is from 250 million years ago. Then to the right we get into the dinosaurs from 230 million years ago, and everything I say now is basically what I translated from here. Then we have some Native Americans. I think it says it's the Dakota tribe from 4000 before Christ. You can see it's like a Native American person. Then to the right here you have Queen Parvati's golden headdress. It's supposed to be from 2685, and it says it's she's a Sumerian queen, I suppose, and the headdress has golden leaves inset with lapis lazuli and red carnelian. That doesn't tell me anything, but I bet it looks gorgeous when you paint it how she describes it. So with the golden leaves here, and then lapis lazuli and the red carnelians inset here, and maybe golden rings or something. I bet you could also look it up. She's called Queen Parvati, I think. Then this is obviously the Trojan Horse. It also says so, from 1400 BC. Then this, the title says it's Indio fabric from 800 BC, and I suppose it depicts Peruvian fabric art. Then here to the left is the Babylonian Ishtar gate from 575 BC, and the little blurb says it was built by Nebuchadnezzar II. It's yellow and blue bricks inlaid with bulls, dragons and lions, all in blue. If you wanted to paint it, faithfully, maybe you could look up pictures of this. Apparently this now stands in the Pergamon Museum in Berlin, but I've unfortunately never seen it in real life. Then to the right here we have an ancient Greek shoe collection. It also says here shoe collection from 480 to 400 BC. Sandals and boots made out of goat leather. Then to the left here we have the Parthenon temple from 447 BC, which is in Athens on the Acropolis. Then this is the Cappadocia underground city from 400 BC, which apparently is in Turkey, and if I understood the blurb in the previous correctly. Cat, you are in the picture. Go. Sorry, if I understood the blurb in the preview correctly, it the persecuted Christians hid in this underground city. Then to the left here, also recognizable. This is obviously Cleopatra with her kitties. I love this. Eriy does a lot of kitties, by the way, if you look out for those. This is from 69 before Christ. Then to the right here we have an ancient Egypt dollhouse. Then we have chess, also obvious, with the knight, king, queen, rook and the bishop. She says in the blurb, if I understood correctly, that chess was invented sometime BC, and this is supposed to be a Scandinavian chess set. To the right here we have this wonderful castle, and this is San Marino in the early 4th century. Then to the left here we have Japanese Shadowplay from the 10th century, and the shadow puppets, these were made out of thin leather, and you can see there's other little rods to move the puppet. To the right here, this is a French romantic castle from 916. It's called Saumur Castle. I'm not sure about the pronunciation, but if you search for something Saumur then you can find it. I found it, and it has these sweet owls that she likes, and I really, really just love this picture. Then here to the left we have Murasaki Shikibu. She lived from 970 to 900. No, she lived in the early. No, she was born around the 970s and died early in the 11th century. And she is a famous author, maybe you know it of Genji Monogatari. And she was lady in waiting at the Japanese imperial court at the time. So this is a very Japanese illustration. Then to the right here we have St. Stephen's Crown around 2001, which is the crown of the King of Hungary. So I bet you could also Google this and find out how to do it like with the correct color choices if you wanted some inspiration. Then this is also something immediately recognizable. This is a Viking ship, and the preview says this is like a ship of Leif the Lucky, who was a Norse explorer who lived from 970 to 1020. He apparently discovered Newfoundland when he was traveling from Greenland. So very famous historical person. Then to the right here we have just a normal depiction of Gills from the 12th century with several signs, like this is obviously an armorer or a smith, and then this looks like a nautical knot, so maybe a rope maker. And these are tool makers and things like that. This is what is depicted here because she says in the blurb, I think, that guilds were an important part of this time. So you can see it's not always buildings or people, but also just things that were important for a special historical point in time. Same goes with the image here on the left, which is heraldry. The time given is 1135 to 1155, which I think is a bit weird because heraldry was always an important part, and you can see different crests depicted here. And this is another picture which I bet is super nice to color because you can just go wild with it. Then on the right here is the Santa Maria Novella Church, 1211, which is apparently a church in Florence, Italy. What is depicted on the left side here is again a Japanese scene. I couldn't quite make sense of the little blurb. This is in Shirakawa-go, which is a famous, I think it's a World Heritage Site in Japan. This is the 13th century, and there are traditional hatched houses, and this is a cooking plate inside the houses, and apparently some special. It says it's Shirakawa-go Idori. With that, I just found a lot of restaurants, so I don't know. But this is a cooking place inside of a traditional Japanese Shirakawa-go house. On the right side, this is named titled "The World of Books." After 1200, and the blurb says that the production of books began and made by monks who just sat there and copied the books, because print wasn't, of course, invented yet. And I suppose this is supposed to be then a place where the monks sat and penned the pages and single pages on pergament. To the left here, I thought it was a church, but it says it's the Coimbra University, circa 1290. It's a Portuguese university founded at the end of the 13th century, and it apparently has a great library, which is what is depicted here. Then on the right side, this is Dogon village in the 14th century, and this is in Mali. So again, as with the other books, we are all around the world. We are in Portugal, before we were in Italy, now we are in Mali. To the left again is the Warsaw Historic City Center in the 30th century. You can see all of those historical buildings. Then to the right here, that's another one I wasn't quite sure whether I understood the blurb. This is a tribute to Ming, I think, from 1401. It's from the east coast of Africa, and the giraffe was a tribute animal, something like that. To left here, again, another one that's easily recognizable. This is Jeanne d'Arc from 1412. To the right here, this is a depiction of the kingdom of Ryukyu from 1429. And if you have never heard of it, Ryukyu is the ancient name for the islands that are known as Okinawa. Okinawa used to be a kingdom that was independent, and then it was became part of Japan and is now called Okinawa. Okay, then to the left here, this is called something like Fun at the Castle, around the 15th century, where a piper plays music to dance to. I think it looks a bit oriental, but with a bird here too. So, I mean, castle that just sounds to me like a medieval castle in Europe or something, but I don't think this is depicted here. But you could do whatever, I think. So it's gorgeous. Then this is from the 1600, and it shows a dressmaker. Then to the left here, this is actually in Germany. It's a German frame house in the 16th to 17th century. And those are very, very traditional houses that are made by wood. So the beams in here are wood, and then in between there's white, I think it's chalk or something, to hold this thing together. And you can have, wine here and pumpkins, and you can make this a gorgeous big picture. To the right here, this is a Czech puppet show, 16th to 19th century. You can see it's like, with puppets with the strings. I thought there might be, with a hand in here, but it's actually puppets with the strings here. Then this is supposed to be a dress worn by Elizabeth I, 1533. As you can see, this gorgeous dress. I bet you could do it in all kinds of colors, or Google her and then find, color inspiration for that. Then the right here, see the kitties, aren't they so sweet? I do not know whether I'm pronouncing this right. I wrote down this is Guanajuato, 1546, which is apparently, I would think, in Mexico maybe, a city famous for its silver mines, where during the colonial period there was a lot of mining. Or this was a mining town. So this is basically the colonial times. Guanajuato, I think. Then this is another gorgeous picture that I've seen colored a couple of times already. This is a picture about Galileo Galilei from 1564, and it doesn't show him, but it does show the whole solar system with the telescope. And if you can't read it, this says, this is all the different planets. Earth is here, Sun is here, and so on. And to the right, this is also easily recognizable. This is obviously the Netherlands, and the title is the Tulip Mania. Tulip Mania, 1637. Maybe you know about it. It's when everybody was in this tulip craze, and the price of tulips rose dramatically, and then it collapsed suddenly. So you had basically a tulip bubble. To the left here, this is the Delhi Castle, also known as the Red Fort or Lal Qila. So again, if you wanted to make this or color this as it looks like in real life, you can Google this. This is from 1639. It was constructed by Shah Jahan. Oh, I can't read my own handwriting. It's a famous piece of Mughal architecture and is made out of red bricks. So this would be more or less red. Then to the right here, again, we have a dress. This is an example of a British metal lace dress from the 17 to 1750s. And I'm very sorry for the cats. They are hungry and they're pestering me. And this is kind of a dress that is where the lace is made out of very, very thin metal threads like gold or silver. So I suppose, I mean, you could maybe outline this in gold. Then to the left here, this is depicted as a Rococo period from the 18th century, which is a style, that's what the blurb says, beginning with Louis XV in France, spread all of Europe, and is its main thing is the exuberant decoration as is shown here. So I suppose you could make this, mostly in gold, all here and these and the chandelier and the, what is it, a piano. Then to the right here, you have another style that I like very much. It's called Chinoiserie. It's the late 17th century, and this is when in Europe the interpretation and imitation of Chinese art was super popular. So you had imitated porcelain and Chinese gardens everywhere, and I suppose this is a little Chinese pavilion in a park. You can make this so pretty too. Then to the left here, also someone you might immediately recognize. This is Mozart from 1756, depicting him sitting at a piano and playing. And see the little birdie brings him a rose. It's so pretty. Then to the right here is another. I actually had to research in Wikipedia a bit because I didn't understand the blurb. I had not heard anything about it, so I learned something. This style is called the Macaroni. It's from the 18th century, and as far as I could tell from Wikipedia, this is a British fashion trend by young British men who had been to Italy and now started to imitate it. So maybe you've heard of the term macaroni for this. It's not the noodle. It is apparently a fashion trend. This is the office of Joseph Banks from 1768. He accompanied James Cook on his first voyage and was a famous botanist, and that's why you have pictures of flowers here. And I suppose that's the picture of the vessel they took, and another pictures of flowers here. Then to the right we have the unification of weight, length and liquid measurements. So it's liter, gram and meter, so in the French terms, but this is 1791. Apparently during or after the French Revolution, the measurements were unified. We're 2/3 through. So this depicts Humboldt's adventure in the early 19th century. Von Humboldt was a German naturalist and explorer. This is supposed to depict Alexander von Humboldt. He also has a famous brother. And von Humboldt traveled around the world and surveyed animals and plants, and this is what it's showing. It seems to be a cabin with a map here and all kinds of plants, little geese, little monkey, another map. Love this. To the right, this is just titled Cowgirls in the 19th century. I don't think I need to say more about that. There's a little goose here too. To the left, this is supposed to depict the Napoleon Army from 1805. This is apparently the uniform of the infantry. Again, you could Google pictures of this and make this, the colors correct if you wanted to. To the right here, little penguins and a little seal and more penguins here, and it even says here it's memories of Macaroni Island. So this is supposed to be Macaroni Island in the 1810, and the blurb says this is an island in the Pacific which was discovered by Frederick Hasselborough, and apparently these are royal penguins who breed there. So lots of penguins here. If you like penguins, this is your picture. Then to the left here we have different baggage labels from all kinds of countries. You could just, color one and not color all of them, or make them all different. These are from 19th to 20th century and were popular in Europe. And to the right here you have, it says who it is. This is supposed to be Florence Nightingale from the 1820s, and I had never heard of her either. And the blurb says that she's the angel of Crimea, and apparently in the Crimean War she took care of wounded soldiers during the war. And again, you can find pictures if you Google this and look at the little birdies who hold this banner up. It's so sweet. To the left, it says it's the German railway. Okay. From 1835, and apparently I had not heard about this. Germany's first railway was between Nuremberg and the neighboring town. It was 8 kilometers long. The next picture is a donkey cart, the 1850s. You can see that it's supposed to be a donkey cart, and it's just, the blurb says donkeys were used for pulling carts, are very versatile and used in Europe and then also in other countries. To the left here is also, it is what you'd think it is. Katze. Oh my god, I'm going to have to cut so much cat interference out of this video. I'm very, very sorry. This is, the title for this is Cowboy Special Cooking Cart from 1866. Little bunnies here, and then you can see has all different kinds of stuff here that you needed to travel, I suppose. Then to the right here is another interior illustration, and this is William Morris's house from 1859, and apparently William Morris was a British designer who moved into this house and mostly designed it. And I think this is what was called the Red House, but I'm not very sure. I tried to find out with Wikipedia, but it wasn't quite conclusive. But that's what I'm going with. Then here to the left you have a British calling card collection from the 1870s. Again, you can color only one if you want to have something small, or all of them in different colors. Then another one that was very interesting to me, I had never heard about. To the right here, this is titled Dokumekan. This is from 1883. And apparently the Rokumekan is a two-story building, or was a two-story building in Tokyo, that was designed by the British architect Josiah Conde. And it was a house in Tokyo that was housing for foreign guests and was famous for its balls. So I suppose this is what it's trying to depict. So at first glance this looks very Western, by the way, another kitty here, but it's actually a house standing in Tokyo. Or I think it isn't standing there anymore, it is, but it was standing in Tokyo. To the left here we have an illustration titled The Camping Epidemic from 1890, and it shows that camping was popularized in the UK as a pastime around that time. And you can see it has a doggy and all kinds of sweets. Well, if camping were like that, then I would absolutely go for it immediately with all those, nice food here. The right here, another one you can immediately recognize. This is the Nutcracker. And this refers obviously to the ballet by Tchaikovsky from 1892, and it's basically, you know, in Christmas scene. You don't, I mean, she is the ballet dancer, you can see, but it's also a very, very nice Christmas scene with the Christmas tree in the background and the goose here, and there's an owl here. Wonderful. Then to the left here we have hot air balloon flying in the 19th century, and apparently became a competition back then. I love those air balloon pictures. There's a doggy here and a birdie here. To the right here is the Olympian Torch, and usually you would think that the Olympics should be way in the front of the book as being in an ancient tradition, but this depicts the revival of Olympia into the modern Olympics in 1896, and the Olympian Torch here is started by like a concave mirror. I think this is it, which then is heated up by the sun. So this is why it is here in the back half of the book around 1896. To the left here we have another wonderful building. This is Sidi Bou Said in 1909 in Tunisia, which is apparently a beautiful city which is famous for its blue doors. And again, Sidi Bou Said is, I think, what it's called, so you can again Google this and see how those buildings look in real life. Then to the right here we have Amundsen's South Pole expedition, and Amundsen was a Norwegian explorer around 1911. To the left here, this is another Japanese-inspired picture, even though it doesn't look it. It's called Moga, and this apparently is an abbreviation for modern girl. This is the time in Japan between 1920 and 1930. You do recognize the style. That's how it looked in the West too. And apparently in Ginza, Tokyo, young girls dressed in Western fashion like this, and that's why it has its own term, Moga. We're coming up on the last pictures here. This is called Special Delivery. It also says so. It's a bicycle with a lot of packages here. This is around the 1920s, 1930s. And it says in the little blurb that the British Railway, also bicycles, started to deliver parcels and luggage. And that is the end. As you can see, this is the book, the back of the book, I suppose. The end picture, really gorgeous. And then at the end here you get a couple of tips. These were also in her other books, just at the beginning, I think. You know, you can trace it, what you can use. And then we have a couple of colored examples from the books. I think this is just a collage of different pictures, like I recognize the Warsaw city center and the chess, the Trojan horse, the piper, the shoes, the fossils, the kitties. I think that was the German railway, wasn't it? And here we had the French castle and the heraldry, so all kinds of pictures from the book to give you color inspiration if you want to. And this is the same page, just, you know, for you to color again. So basically this in here if you want to. And then, as you know, most Japanese books have some kind of specialty, and this book seems to have postcards. So they're not pre-cut, but like it says postcards and message card at the right, and apparently this is one card with a nutcracker and Galileo Galilei, and this is also a collage. It might be very hard to see for you of all kinds of pictures, like San Marino and the heraldry and Leif Amundsen's Life of the Luckies boat. Those are two. You are supposed to cut in between. These are the postcards, and maybe this is a message card. And there are lines for you where you're supposed to cut. And those are just little pictures that you can also cut and use as a little message card. I really love those. They're just pictures from the book, just in very small. And that is the book. I got this from Amazon Japan. I get all my Japanese books from there. I think Coloring Queen has a video up in her channel. I try to link it down below. How to order from there. It's actually very easy, and since the only shipping you can pick is Premier shipping, which is kind of expensive but super quick. I usually have these books within a week, and the books aren't very expensive themselves, so it evens out. As with all her other books, I love these. I love that I actually, learned something from the pictures, things that I hadn't heard about, didn't know. It's very, very varied. It has persons, it has animals, it has buildings, it has cities, it has nature. So whatever you like to color, you will find it in here. And I really do like the idea with the tracing. To not have black outlines, so the pictures, when they are colored in, do look different from normal coloring pages. I mean, you're free to obviously, use black to outline this if you want the effect, but you don't have to. So I'm very, very happy she released the third book in this series. I own 6 books of her now, with the 3 romantic country and the 3 tracing around the world books, and I'm excited to see what she comes up with next, because I just love her sweet and cute style. Yeah, that's about it. This was a very, very long video. Thank you for watching with me, and I hope if you have this book then and you wonder what one of the pictures is, this video might have been helpful to you. I'll go back to bed and get healthy again, and we'll see you in the next video. Thank you very, very much, and bye-bye.